Nickelodeon was one of the early pioneers of children's television and was a staple in American households for decades. It all started on December 1st, 1977, when it was launched on a new cable TV system called Cube in Columbus, Ohio. Back then, it was known as the C3 channel and only showed one main program called Pinwheel. This show was created by Dr. Vivian Horner, who was a teacher and wanted to make TV fun and safe for kids. Because of that, people often called it the Pinwheel channel. On April 1st, 1979, the channel got a fresh new name, Nickelodeon, and started showing more fun programs like Video Comic Book, America Goes Bananas, and Nickel Flicks. From 1979 to 1985, Nickelodeon played it super safe. They thought some cartoons like Looney Tunes and many superhero shows were too wild or even too dangerous for kids to be watching. Everything started to change in the early 1990s when Nickelodeon began to try out more daring shows. A big turning point came in 1991 with the arrival of shows like The Ren and Stimpy Show, Rugrats, and Doug. These cartoons had a unique, funny, and sometimes strange style that was very different from the safe shows they used to play. This new shows helped Nickelodeon become a place for more creative and bold cartoons, which played a pivotal role in reshaping Nickelodeon's identity, paving the way for a new era of innovative and daring children's entertainment.
Now, on Nickelodeon News Flash, kids are attempting to build time machines so they can race through the week and go straight to Sunday, where they'll find Doug, Rugrats, and Ren and Stimpy, Nickelodeon's new cartoons. Is it worth altering the fabric of reality to see Nickelodeon's new cartoons now? You bet your Bunsen burner it is. Until kid scientists perfect the pursuit of time travel, you'll have to wait for Doug, Rugrats, and Ren and Stimpy, Nicktoons, calculated to arrive every Sunday starting at 10/9 Central, only on Nickelodeon.
In the 1990s, often called Nickelodeon's golden era, the channel introduced many beloved cartoons that became classics. Hey Arnold is about a fourth grader named Arnold. This series showcases his life in the city, dealing with friends, school, and various adventures. Rocco's modern life follows an Australian wallaby. This show highlights his experiences in America with his quirky friends. Real Monsters is a series that delves into the lives of young monsters, learning the art of scaring humans. Cat Dog is a unique tale of a creature that's half cat, half dog, and their humorous daily life challenges. These cartoons played a significant role in shaping Nickelodeon's identity during the 90s and continue to be cherished by fans today.
So bringing you 2.5 hours of Nicktoons every Sunday morning.
What a Davy Crockett sweat-stained buckskins is going on?
It's double Nicktoon weekends.
Duh.
Every Saturday and Sunday morning, you'll get Rugrats, The Angry Beavers, Hey Arnold, Real Monsters, and Rocco's Modern Life.
Now it all makes sense.
Watch double Nicktoon weekends every Saturday and Sunday morning, starting at 10/9 Central, only on Nick.
Many people call the 1990s the golden age of Nickelodeon because of all the new fun and creative cartoons that came out. Then something unexpected happened. Nick premiered one cartoon that not only brought it ratings, but also shaped a new era for the network.
SpongeBob SquarePants is coming in July! Be there and be square!
Look at me, I'm naked!
SpongeBob premiered in 1999 and quickly became a cultural phenomenon in the 2000s. Its widespread appeal led to an extensive range of merchandise, including clothing, breakfast cereals, fast food toys, and even underwear.
Oh no, he's hot!
The show's influence extended beyond merchandise, with its unique humor and characters resonated with both children and adults, leading to a significant cultural impact. SpongeBob became a cultural touchstone, inspiring memes and references across various media platforms. The series' popularity also led to various adaptations, including feature films, a Broadway musical, and multiple video games. Even though SpongeBob was very successful, there were still many good shows during the early 2000s, like The Fairly Odd Parents, Jimmy Neutron, Rocket Power, Danny Phantom, Invader Zim, My Life as a Teenage Robot, and Avatar: The Last Airbender. The first part of the 2000s felt like a fun continuation of the cool cartoons from the 1990s. However, many fans believe that in the second half of the 2000s, things began to go downhill for Nickelodeon.
What everybody stop singing?
Next, the 2000s and 10s came along, which some people say is the worst era for the channel. Even though Nickelodeon hadn't completely hit rock bottom, many of the shows they made did not become popular. It wasn't that the shows were bad, they were still fun and interesting, but the network did not promote them very well. These shows were mostly ignored because big hits like SpongeBob SquarePants and The Fairly Odd Parents stole all the attention. Lesser known cartoons such as Tack, El Tigre, The Mighty Bee, The S's, and Back at the Barnyard never got a real chance to shine. Then, in the last year of the 2000s, a new show came out that many people believe started Nickelodeon's slide into its worst era.
Don't miss the world premiere of Fanboy and Chum Chum, the brand new show, tomorrow at 10:30 on Nick. We'll be right back.
Fanboy and Chum Chum was one of the first big signs of change in Nickelodeon's cartoons. While it's easy to criticize, and many already have, the main point here is that this show leaned heavily on silly, gross-out humor. This wasn't necessarily a bad thing, but it set the stage for a wave of cartoons that rely more on cheap jokes rather than clever storytelling. Now let's take a look at all the Nicktoons that aired during this decade. The first new Nicktoon of the decade was Planet Sheen, a spin-off of Jimmy Neutron that many fans felt was unnecessary. Sheen is a fun side character in Jimmy Neutron, became overly annoying as the lead. The storylines were weird, but not in a fun way, and the animation wasn't very impressive, and looked like the low-budget game for the Xbox. On top of that, the humor felt more like Fanboy and Chum Chum rather than Jimmy Neutron. I did a whole video on Planet Sheen, so if you want to check out a more in-depth look at the series, I'll link a title card above the video. Next up was Tough Puppy, created by Butch Hartman, the same person behind The Fairly Odd Parents and Danny Phantom. Since Hartman had a great track record, you'd expect this show to be just as good. And while it wasn't terrible, something about it felt off. It's hard to explain. The show had the same humor and manic speed that Fairly Odd Parents is, with little to none of the charm. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't awful, but the premise wasn't fully thought out and often felt pointless. Most of the time, the stories just turned into a bunch of jokes, and the joke was almost always that Dudley is an idiot. It wasn't awful, but it wasn't on the same level as Nickelodeon's past hits. Even the furry bait characters, or Jerry Trainer, couldn't save the series. The Legend of Korra tried to follow in the footsteps of the original series, but didn't quite hit the mark for many fans. Some say that Korra's growth isn't as strong as Aang's was in the first show. Each season having a different villain makes the story feel a bit all over the place. Republic City feels too modern compared to the many different worlds in the original series. Many viewers also think that the love triangle between Korra, Mako, and Asami seems forced. And then there's the part where Korra breaks the avatar cycle, a chain that connects each new avatar with all the past ones to help guide them. After Korra, there's Robot and Monster. This show felt very empty because its jokes mostly came from characters hitting each other and calling each other names. Although jokes like that can be funny sometimes, when every joke is like that, it becomes boring pretty quickly. In 2012, a new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles show came out. The animation was lively and modern, but it also had some darker and more serious parts, along with lots of funny and warm moments. Fans loved that each turtle had their own unique personality. The show mixed exciting action with stories about family, friendship, and growing up, and it also honored the classic comics and cartoons that longtime fans adored. I even remember that in a later season, they changed Leonardo's voice actor and explained in the show why his voice sounded different.
So, why does he sound different? He sustained damage to his throat, and pretty much everywhere else for that matter.
Now let's talk about Sanjay and Craig.
They made it out! Yes!
Many fans say this show is one of the worst on Nickelodeon. They feel it uses only silly, gross jokes, especially fart jokes, that seem to mix the worst parts of other cartoons into one. Some even call it a rip-off of Regular Show, which I think is very unfair to Regular Show. It's more like a soulless version of Ren and Stimpy. The show is full of mindless jokes, and there are no real stories, just the same old jokes repeated over and over. The characters can be very annoying, and the show spends too much time on gross humor. Many Many fans wonder how a show like this was ever made and kept on the air. Daily reminder that Nickelodeon chose Sanjay and Craig instead of Adventure Time.
You see this L right here? Take this L, hold this L, you're going to cherish this L, okay? Here you go. You can have it, you can hold it, and you're gonna keep it.
It's time to talk about breadwinners. Many people think Breadwinners is one of the worst cartoons of the decade. They don't like it because it has too many gross jokes like fart and butt jokes, which make the show seem silly. The animation and character designs look cheap and lazy. I didn't even realize that the main characters were ducks. All this time I thought they were frogs. Oops. The stories are unoriginal and boring. The main characters are annoying and too similar to each other. While very young kids might enjoy the show, older viewers and critics feel that it's silly humor and lack of a real story make it one of the worst cartoons on Nickelodeon. Then came Harvey Beats, which felt like a breath of fresh air, which is another hidden gem that didn't get the recognition it deserved and that's canceled too soon. Unfortunately, not long after that, Pig Goat Banana Cricket came out and brought Nickelodeon right back down into a mess of over-the-top, hyperactive, and exaggerated animation. It's obvious they tried to get the Teen Titans Go audience with this cartoon, but obviously that didn't work. The Loud House is a popular animated show that started in 2016 and is still on TV today. Many people think it's better than other shows because even though it has some silly jokes and lots of energy, it features characters that viewers can relate to. Each character has a unique personality, making it easy for people to see themselves in the show. The stories talk about everyday problems in a simple way without trying too hard to teach a lesson. This mix of humor and heartwarming moments makes both kids and adults enjoy the series, helping it become one of Nickelodeon's most popular programs. After that, there's Bunsen is a Beast, another show by Butch Hartman that follows the pattern of having a human and a non-human best friend going on wild adventures. Then comes Welcome to Wayne, which many say is one of the better new shows, although some people think it sounds a bit like a copy of Gravity Falls. And just 2 days after Welcome to Wayne premiered, The Fairly Odd Parents was canceled. By the end of the decade, SpongeBob was the only show that stuck around. Since SpongeBob was making a lot of money for the channel, in this decade, there were 4 new Nicktoons. Out of these, only one kept using the same wild, silly, poop humor style. The other 3 were reboots or spin-offs, meaning they took parts of old shows and made new versions. For example, The Adventures of Kid Danger, Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and The Casagrandes are all reboots or spin-offs. By 2020, almost 70% of the shows were reboots, spin-offs, or based on older shows, which might tell us what's coming in the future. Although shows with gross jokes are slowly becoming less common, they're mostly being replaced by reboots, spin-offs, and shows based on licensed ideas. As of right now, we're definitely in a reboot era. Almost every network is bringing back old shows instead of creating fresh, new ideas. So it makes sense that Nickelodeon would follow that trend. But what do you think is next for Nick? Were you more of a Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, or Disney Channel person? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe.